بعد قليل مستمعينا الأعزاء سوف نستمع إلى اللقاء الذي أجريناه مع البروفيسور مايك سميث، وهو رئيس لجنة الحقائق في ما يخص يعني حقوق الهيومن رايت في أرتريا. فكونوا معنا.
ويوم قوبنا ينبدل واحنا علم عنده قامين نتهاجم مثل عدنا بدم ثتامي دور مقوى قتل وعدنا نبني ونعمر واسميتان وكل اللي انت بيت قوي
Smith from the University of Microry University Department of Policy and Intelligence and Counter-Terrorism, and has been appointed as a chair for the new commission of to investigate allegedly human rights violation in Eritrea. Welcome to our program, to the task that you are appointed for, Mike. I've got question number one. It says a commission of inquiry has been set up. It means that there is a possibility of crime against humanity committed in Eritrea. Following that question, if so, what's the time frame of the commission will investigate in?
Okay, well, first of all, Ari, the Commission of Inquiry has been mandated to investigate alleged human rights violations in Eritrea, as you said in your introduction. We are required, the commission, which has been established, is required to do that and report back with a written report by June 2015, which is really only about 6 months away from here. Now, there is no mention in the resolution of crimes against humanity. So the way in which we will be doing our investigations will be to try to document what violations of human rights have occurred, and if it's quite possible, I'm not saying it's probable, but it is possible, and it has been in other such commissions, that there has been a pattern of violations that has been established that might suggest crimes against humanity. But that's not something that this commission has been asked to look into. It's possible that someone else could follow that up, though.
Okay. And is there any limit? Is there a frame time that will start?
Yes, we have to report by June next year. So that's the time within which we have to do our report. So
I will make clear to my question, Mike, is what I'm trying to say is...
the time frame for the commission.
Yeah, when they would make gamblers, for example, they might go the last 2 years, they might go 5 years, they might go 10 years.
I think basically, because there is no time limit, the commission itself, we discussed this, and we've decided we'll look at Eritrea since it's been an independent state. Okay. So that's basically since 1993.
93, yes.
So we'll be looking at events that have happened and possible alleged human rights violations from the period of 1993 through to the present time.
Okay. So, Mike, our next question, you launched your inquiry task on 20 of November 2014, last month, and have already met with Eritreans in Switzerland and Italy. Do you plan to meet Eritreans residing in other countries, in particular in Sudan and Ethiopia, where there are a large number of Eritrean refugees?
Yes, the answer to that question is very definitely, and we would like to meet Eritreans who are living in a number of different countries. We have, in fact, sent letters to a number of neighbouring countries to Eritrea and asked if we could visit and interview people there. But until we receive replies from these countries and if we know which countries are happy for us to do so and which are not.
Not yet.
We don't know which countries we'll be visiting, but we'll certainly be visiting a number of countries. We would like, of course, to be able to visit all countries where Eritreans are living, including Australia.
Yep.
But the practical realities are that given the short time frame we have to work and the fact that we're a part-time commission,
Yep.
we're not doing this full-time, we simply won't be able to do that with all countries. But we'll certainly do what we can.
Okay. So, are you optimistic that Eritrean government will allow you to visit Eritrea? If not, how will this affect your work?
Well, we have written to the Eritrean government, and we've also spoken to their diplomatic representatives in Geneva, and have asked for their agreement to our visiting and interviewing people and visiting various sites and so on in Eritrea. They haven't replied to that yet, and I don't want to prejudge what might be a positive response on that. So we are still hoping that that will happen. It would certainly be, we would think it would be a very good way to conduct business. At the same time, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights
Yep.
has had a lot of experience in this area. There have been a lot of these sorts of commissions where the commissioners have not been allowed to visit the countries concerned, and they've gathered their information from people outside the country, people who've had first-hand experience, experts and so on, and they've been able to produce very credible and compelling reports anyway.
Yeah.
So the reality is that we'll be able to do our work,
Yeah.
whether we visit Eritrea or not, but we would prefer to do it with a visit to Eritrea.
Okay. So, how do you verify the credibility of information you receive?
Well, the Commission of Inquiry follows the usual standards and procedures that have been established in these sorts of commissions. So, as a rule, only information that reaches the approved standard of proof, which is reasonable grounds to believe,
Yep.
will be used to document these human rights violations that may have occurred. We check the credibility of the information
Yep.
and the reliability of the source of the information, and we do that very often by comparing the stories of a whole lot of people, see where they're similar, see where they're different, but see the common elements.
Yep.
We look at the detail of the information that's being given, and we look for corroboration. In other words, when we find that one person was in the same place as another person and it explains the same sort of thing happened, then that's some indication that it did happen. It's some sort of corroboration. So we're very careful about this. It's very important that our information is reliable,
Yeah.
And it reaches a certain standard.
Okay.
Okay, Mike, here we are. How will you protect the identity of those who provide you information, as many they might need an assurance of their information and identity not to be leaked to the Eritrean regime?
Well, again, these commissions have got a lot of experience in this area, and we have already adopted methods of work to ensure the full confidentiality of all the information that is provided, as well as the identity of the people who have had contact with us. And as I say, these are very much in line with the standards that have been established for previous commissions. The information that we get from people, when we interview individuals, we always ask them, would you mind if we shared this information with other parts of the United Nations? We say, would you mind if your name was even used? And very often they say, no, we do not want that, and in which case we totally respect that. We would not put anyone at risk, particularly some people who have relatives still at home, and they certainly don't want them to be affected by what they say. But on the other hand, we've also come across people who say, look, I'm already well known for speaking out. I'm in civil society. Everyone knows what I say. I speak very openly, so I don't mind if my name is used. So, that person, it makes it a bit easier.
Okay. One more question. That will you be you will be reporting to the Human Rights Council in Geneva in 2015. That's June, in the month of June. And after that, what will be your next step?
Well, first of all, we're actually reporting orally to the Human Rights Council in March of 2015. So they've asked for a progress report, if you like. So we will all appear before the Human Rights Council. We'll tell them what we've been doing. We'll tell them what we've produced so far, and we'll answer questions from them. Then in June, as you say, in middle of June, late June, we will present our final report. We then have been asked in the original resolution, which gives us our mandate, we've been asked to do an oral presentation also to the General Assembly in its next session. So that will probably be in October 2015. So that's what we'll be doing. Now, in terms of what the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry will be, well, we can't say that yet because we simply haven't worked them out. But I would expect that they will include recommendations for follow-up for different people. There's likely to be some recommendations directed at the Eritrean government. There's likely to be recommendations directed to the UN, and quite possibly there will be recommendations for other countries. So there will be, in other words, there will be scope for others to follow up what we've done. Our mandate finishes once we have done the report.
Okay. So how can people with information contact you? Would you be prepared to reach to such persons wherever they may be?
Absolutely. Now, what we've done is we launched a call for submissions when we had our first meeting a few weeks ago in Geneva, and you can find that on our website. And that asked for anyone who's got information relevant to this topic to send it to us with a closing date of the 31st of January 2015. We simply have to put in a closing date because we can't continue to receive information and follow it up any later than that because we simply won't have time to include it in our report. But anyone can send information to us. They can contact us at our website. So if you want to, your listeners could visit the Commission of Inquiry into on Eritrea website, which is, or you can send us an email at coieritrea@ohchr.org. That's our email address. Now, if anyone does send us information, we will, some of that we will follow up for further questions, so their contact details, which they'll give with it, we'll use to get into contact with them and ask them more information.
So did you say the closing date is the 31st of January 2015?
31st of January, so I know it's not long.
Next month.
Next month.
Okay. So there are many opposition organizations and political parties with up-to-date information on the human rights situation in Eritrea. Will you accept their evidence?
Well, any information provided, we'll accept information from any source, but of course we will check it in accordance with standards of proof adopted by the Commission, and of course we'll look at the reliability of the source, the credibility of the information, and of course we'll also look for external corroboration. But in principle, anyone can contact us and give us information.
And what is your measurement for that? I mean, for the credibility of the information that you get?
Well, we'll look at corroboration. We'll look at whether this is consistent with the information we're hearing from other groups, other individuals, and so on. That's how we measure credibility. If someone makes sort of suggestions that are completely at odds and different from everything else we're hearing, well, then we'll put a question mark over that information.
Okay. So are you willing to accept cooperation with civil society groups and activists? If so, how do you force such cooperation to be?
Well, certainly we welcome any cooperation with civil society. Civil society plays an enormously important part in disseminating information on the work of the Commission and to encourage people to cooperate through the submission of written testimonies, as I've already mentioned, and also rallying people to come at the places where we visit, to come and be interviewed by us. So we're already engaging very much with civil society on these issues. We regard it as extremely important. Civil society organizations are also very important and helpful in explaining the mandate and the aims and scope of the Commission of Inquiry, so that people don't, on the one hand, have unreasonable expectations of it, but on the other hand, understand what it might be able to do.
Yes. Finally, are you satisfied with any cooperation that you have received from the Eritreans so far?
We are very satisfied with the cooperation we've received from the Eritreans we've met and the Eritrean organizations that have helped us in our work so far. We are, of course, as I said earlier, still waiting to see if the Eritrean government will be willing to cooperate with us.
Yes. Go ahead, Mike. It's okay.
No, I was just going to say also that if non-Eritreans wish to contact us because they've got very relevant information on human rights violations in Eritrea to share, that I, of course, invite them also.
As you mentioned, the neighboring countries.
Yes,
any neighboring
right,
countries or something like that, yes.
And some, of course, some international organizations, as you know, have written reports on the situation, etc. So that's another example.
Okay, Mick. Have you got any final points that my team member is going to ask a question?
I have got. Mike. Just I'm wondering if you have been invited to visit the Eritrean community for, let's say, in Melbourne. Are you ready to visit us?
Well, the issue there is, and we still haven't fully decided, but the issue is that for all of the commissioners to come out here along with the Secretariat would be quite difficult and very expensive. So it's much easier for me to fly to Europe or to the United States, to New York. It's much cheaper for one person to go than to bring 6 or 8 people out here. And we don't like to split up too much. So we wouldn't be very enthusiastic about having each of us split up and going to different countries. We want to do this as a commission together. So, as I say, it's possible that we will decide that the commission should visit and talk to people in Australia, but it's also possible that we will decide this is just not a realistic possibility, given the time limit we have and given the budgetary limitation we have, because of course we have a very limited budget to carry out this exercise too.
Yes, one last question I have got is, have you ever dealt with any Eritreans before, Mick?
Yes, well, I've met Eritreans in my career in different places. Not very many, but I have. I've worked because I had a diplomatic career before I retired and became an adjunct professor at the university. And, of course, I've worked in the United Nations, so I've met Eritreans there. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I actually visited Eritrea, but before it was Eritrea, when I was a young man, I hitchhiked through Ethiopia and wound up visiting and spending a couple of nights in Asmara and even went down to Massawa. So I kind of feel that I have met people from that country and I have some understanding of the country, even though that was a very long time ago and in very different political circumstances.
And this is before the independence of Eritrea, 1993?
Absolutely, this was in 1973, I think.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify something with my colleague, or my team member was trying to say that if you would be able to come or something. That you've said it now. You've been to Asmara and all these things. Just a bit of friendly, very jovial type of a visit. If you pay us and passing by, I could call it, and just to have a bite with us, you will be more than grateful for that.
I would like to very much. It would have to be very unofficial because, as I say,
exactly. No, that's what we want.
But you could contact me and give me the contact details. It may not happen for a while because I'm traveling.
Yes.
I have to actually leave and go back on my travels to New York in a couple of weeks. And then I'm gone because we're going to be working on this. Most of February we'll be doing visits to countries in Africa, we hope. And then I get back here in middle of March. So, as I say, I don't have a lot of time and I won't be in Melbourne.
Whenever it's convenient. Whenever it's convenient, Mike.
Okay, that would be really nice.
Okay.
Even if it's later on after this is over, I'd like to very much.
Yes. In fact, this should be at the very beginning. We could say that make it really. We wish you a safe and happy Christmas, and prosperity for you and your family. And we're really grateful for the time that you have squeezed it out. And you are a busy man, and you try to squeeze us in between things, and we do something. And I will see what my other colleagues could say to you. And this is from my part, and I really appreciate and highly appreciate that one, and we are very gratitude for that for giving us sparing your time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ari. And let me say that it's a great pleasure to speak to you both and to speak to your listeners. Let me say that all the Eritreans I've met so far, and we've already met quite a few, I've found to be extremely decent, very, very sincere people, and people with a strong heart and great fortitude.
Personally, it gives me how big heart you've got when you say this. Thank you very much on behalf of every Eritrean.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Great pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
إذا مستمعينا الأكارم، نعم كنتم تستمعون إلى بروفيسور مايك سميث بجامعة ماكواري بسيدني طبعا أستراليا، وهو دبلوماسي أسترالي سابق عمل في الأمم المتحدة، ويترأس حاليا لجنة تقصي الحقائق عن انتهاكات حقوق الإنسان في أرتريا التي شكلها مجلس حقوق الإنسان بجنيف في شهر يونيو الماضي. طبعا أجل اللقاء الزميلين رئي محمد صالح وبرهان إسماعيل. إذا مستمعينا الكرام، مرحبا بكم. ما زال برنامجنا برنامج الأرترية يجري وتستمعون إليه عبر أسير راديو سليسة. معي في الاستوديو الزميلين رئي محمد صالح وبرهان إسماعيل. أخ ري، ماذا تقول؟ ما هي انطباعاتك حول هذا اللقاء؟ ماذا شدك نحو مثلا، وماذا لفت انتباهك من أي معلومة أو أي ملاحظة؟
والله لو في أي ملاحظة أو أي معلومة تقال إنه هنا كان نضيع للجميع، لكافة الإريتريين، لهم يعني دي فرصة، هي فرصة عمر، يعني فرصة لا يمكن أن نجدها مرة ثانية. فلو يا حبذا لأي واحد حتى لو معلومة إنه بقت يعني قصيرة طويلة مش مهم، لكن يكون يعني الشيء الثاني الأكثر أقول له، ما في إريتريا اليوم ما بيعرف إنه ما في أي مشكلة عن أي شيء حصل، اختفاء، اغتيال، اعتقال، ويعني فأي معلومة،
كل أنواع الانتهاكات.
نعم أنواع الانتهاكات اللي حصلت للإرتريا واللي قاعد تحصل يعني. فيا ريت إنه كل واحد فينا يتقدم
نعم
بأي معلومة عنده وتصل المجموعة دي.
نعم بشكل جماعي. الزميل برهان، ماذا يمكن أن نفعل نحن في ملبورن في أستراليا؟ طبعا هو رحب بأي زيارة غير رسمية لمدينة ملبورن زي ما قال يعني.
نعم.
كيف نعمل بشكل جماعي برأيك على الناس؟
نقدر نعمل الكثير صراحة.
نعم.
يعني كما ذكر الأخ أري، يعني اليوم ما في إريتري ما عنده معلومة عن المآسات التي تحصل للشعب الإريتري في الداخل أو في الشتات. ودي كما ذكر الأخ أري هي فرصة ثمينة جدا، ونحن محظوظين كونه رئيس هذه اللجنة يكون من أستراليا. ثانيا رجل عنده معرفة سابقة بإريتريا والشعب الإريتري، كما ذكر في لقائه زار إريتريا سنة 1973.
نعم.
وأيضا يعني
التقى مع إريتريا لأن نحن كان دبلوماسيا في الأمم المتحدة،
وأشاد بالإريتريين يعني في كل مكان بأنهم فعلا ناس أصحاب غدية وناس يعني
مهذبين وقلوبهم كبيرة. نعم.
وأصحاب يعني خلق وقلوب كبيرة. ودي كلها توحي يعني مؤشرات جميلة جدا من مسؤول لجنة التحقيقات.
نعم. إذا نحن لدينا هنا في ملبورن نقول لدينا الجالية، لدينا منظمات سياسية، منظمات مجتمع مدني.
نعم.
كيف يكون شكل التعاون مع هذه اللجنة برأيكم؟ نعم. لنقول لا، كيف نكتب رسالة مثلا، نكون عمليين، كيف نكتب رسالة من ملبورن لهذه اللجنة؟
أولا أنا في رأيي الوقت الموجود قصير جدا. يعني الاستلام هو لغاية 31 يناير 2015.
نعم، يعني شهر أمامنا،
شهر على القول أمامنا شهر. ونحن في أستراليا أنا أحمل المسؤولية أكثر من أي إرتريي، الشتات إرتريين اللي موجودين في أستراليا، لسبب بسيط جدا، بأنه رئيس اللجنة هو أسترالي زيك، يعني رجل موجود معي في هذا البلد.
نعم.
فسوف يكون عيب علينا صراحة، يعني كونه نتكلم في القهاوي ونكتب ده، يعني أي نعم الكتابة بلورة القضايا اللي موجودة، لكن أنا أشوف بشكل رسمي
المكان الصحيح، يعني
بالضبط.
المكان الصحيح والوقت الصحيح ده،
والوقت الصحيح هو الآن.
نعم.
فالرجاء من كل من يعلم عنده أي معلومة بشكل جماعي، أنا أحبذ لو بقت بشكل جماعي،
يعني ممكن نكتب رسالة واحدة يوقع فيها 20-30 بأسمائهم، يعني
رسالة ومعها أيضا بالتفصيل الأشياء التي نحن
نعم رسالة نذكر معلومات فيها طبعا. بس من باب التذكير أن الرسالة هم طالبين رسائل إذا كانت باللغة الإنجليزية تكون في حدود 10 صفحات.
نعم.
إذا كان باللغة العربية والتقنية تكون ب5 صفحات.
5 صفحات.
نعم. ونحن أظن الفرصة بتاعنا متاحة للكتابة باللغة الإنجليزية
موجود.
لذلك عندك 10 صفحات.
نعم.
العنوان شنو كيف نرسل العنوان معك؟
هو
عنوانين، في بريد وفي بريد الكتروني وفي بريد عادي تقريبا،
وفي الايميل. في البريد الذي المراسل اللي هو يكون UNIG-OHCHR number 8/14 تقصي which PAIX rule دلا number 10 Geneva CH-11 1211 سويسرلاند.
نعم.
أما بالنسبة للإيميل اللي هو أسهل COI Eritrea @ohchr.org. ده هو العنوان.
هذا الايميل ده عندنا عنوانين، نعمل الايميل
بعدين هنا لو حاول انه لو عايز يتصل تلفونيا الواحد ممكن يتصل كمان بالجامعة.
نعم.
اللي هو 02 اللي هو طبعا سيدني. بعدين 98504051.
جميل. اذا دي العناوين بتاع بالنسبه للتلفون يمكن يكون للدواعي الاعلاميه للميديا.
الميديا هنا طبعا والميديا يوصلوا، ممكن يوصلوهم، اي واحد ممكن يوصلوهم للمكتب البروفيسور سميث.
نعم.
ايوه. بالاضافه لما ذكره الاخ برهان والاخ برضه ذكروه الاخ احمد، بالنسبه ل 31 يناير هو يوم اقفال قبول الطلبات، يعني عشان الواحد ما ننتظر لاخر لحظه يقول لك لحد يوم، لا بعد 31 يناير ما حيقبلوا
يعني انت لو كتبت رساله يوم 31 ما بتنفع،
ما خلاص.
نعم.
يعني
لا تكون بالايميل، ممكن الايميل تصل في نفس اليوم، معلش.
انا عندي فكره بسيطه يا اخواننا، ايش رايكم؟ طبعا زي ما قلنا وقال الاخوان ونقول وكل واحد يقول الكلام ده، يعني
نعم.
فكره دي طبعا هنا سليمه هي.
نعم.
ايه رايكم لو نتجمع في حته واحده كلنا مع بعض، زي ما تقول فوتسكراي بارك، خلونا نعمل باربيكيو، نناقش المواضيع دي. مجموعه يعني الناس اصحاب القلم
المهتمين
يجمعوا يسجلوا اي كلام اللي قاعدين يقولوا، ده برضه حل هو يعني. نقعد يكون عندنا باربيكيو، نقعد مع بعض نتونس نتدارس نتناقش، ولا شيء واحد يفتكر شيء وكل ما واحد يتكلم انا كمان اتذكرته وكلام هذا
وايضا هنالك اشخاص حصلت عليهم وموجودين في
ضحايا تعرضوا لاعتقال.
هذا اللي قال عليهم فيرست هاند بيبل، اللي قال عليهم
هم اللي عانوا
يعني التمسوا شو اسمه هذا.
نعم.
فانا بشوفها يعني بصراحه يعني ما نضيع وقتنا، يعني حتى لو قلت اسبوع يمكن كثير، خليه يا جماعه نتجمع الاسبوع القادم نجي
والفرصه موجوده لان الناس في اجازه.
بالاضافه دي يعني الحظ عمره ما حنتحصل عليه، رجل او